Hi, I'm John Lenihan, and I'm glad to be with you today. I'm going to introduce you first to myself. I met my wife, Sue, of 44 years at Valparaiso University, where I was getting a degree in electrical engineering. Since then, I have received a master's degree in electrical engineering and a master's degree in business administration. Most of my life has been focused on being curious. And today what I would like to talk with you about is a broad topic, and I just want to talk about just one tiny little part of it. And I'm going to call the broad topic the science of God. And the specific thing I want to talk with you today about is you're going to be going off to college. Some of you are going to be going into the workforce. You've gone to school and you've been lied to. You have been told things as fact, and you've had to remember them and pass them on your tests to get your grades, and I understand that. However, not everything that you've been told is a fact. Some of it is more like a religion. I call that religion science. Now, science is not a religion. You probably are saying to yourself, science is science. Science is good stuff. Every day we're seeing things about science. This Sunday, SMU found, a lady at SMU, a student found some bones, and she's pretty excited about that. And what I want to tell you about is the reason I call science, some people's science, a religion is because of faith. Now, I'm going to go to Hebrews, and the chapter that we're going to be looking at is Hebrews 11, verses 1 through 7. And if you can point over toward that now, Sue. Now, this is the Apostle Paul writing this letter to those of the Hebrew faith about Christianity. Now, faith is being sure of what we hope for, being convinced of what we do not see. I'm going to go to verse 3. By faith, we understand that the worlds were set in order at God's command, so that the visible has its origin in the invisible. And now I'm going to go to verse 6. Now, without faith, it is impossible to please God, for the one who approaches God must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him. So you can come back to me now. Now let's take a look. This talked about creating the world, and stay on the sign there. So Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We believe that Genesis was told by God directly to Moses. And it goes on to describe how God created the heavens and the earth. And these next verses go into some detail. All right. Now, the question is, you probably have seen, come back to me here, you've probably seen books like, okay, since you were a kiddo, this book here, The Early Cretaceous, and it has pictures of dinosaurs. It talks about what their skin was like and what various parts of their body were like. And here is a story of oxygen on Earth, a 4 billion year history. Now, let's talk about what science is. Science, the scientific method, is you make an observation, you ask a question, you form a hypothesis, you construct an experiment that has a control, and tests or either proves or disproves your hypothesis, and that you then analyze it and perhaps repeat it to have a different hypothesis. Now, if you do that in a way and document that in a way that other people can repeat that experiment over and over, then pretty soon it becomes accepted scientific fact. Now, some of the scientific facts are in this little cheat sheet I have of physics. And there are facts about electricity, facts about force, facts about gravity, facts about electric potential, which I know the most about. And each of these can be repeated over and over to prove that they're true. What science cannot do is science cannot prove history. Science cannot prove that the Earth is 4 billion years old because using the scientific method, you cannot repeat this experiment over and over. Science cannot prove that these dinosaurs had these specific kinds of skin. What we have found is the bones. So we know that some animal had these bones. We don't know what the skin looked like. Now, that's observation. Now, when those dinosaurs lived, how long ago, we don't know. In fact, we don't even know scientifically that George Washington existed and was the first president of the United States. The way we know history types of activities is through a different method, not the scientific method. It's the method that is evident in law discussions or in courtroom discussions if you've ever watched a court scene on TV. There's evidence, and then there are a group of learned people, and those people look at the evidence and they figure out in their head what's the probability that either this person did this thing or that this person did not do this thing. And so it's a preponderance of the evidence, or it's evidence without a doubt, two kinds of evidence. However, that's the only way to prove history, that you cannot have an experiment that shows George Washington standing here and George Washington not standing here and say, this is George Washington. You can't prove history. In fact, you can't even prove what you ate for breakfast last Monday using the scientific method. You can only prove it using the legal method, which would be ask people who have watched you eat breakfast every Monday and have them write down the yes that they saw you. You can have examine your closet, your kitchen food storage, and see that, oh, you buy lots of Cheerios. There's a chance that you had Cheerios for breakfast last Monday morning. However, you can't prove it with science. We cannot have a controlled experiment with science. Now, what it requires to have science is faith. Just think about this with me. The problem that I have kept seeing with young people is after 12 years of schooling and then off to a few more years of schooling, part of the brain kind of has a split. Do I have faith in God, or do I believe in science? As if they're separate, and they are not separate. They're actually, if you think about this with me, follow me with this, the only way to have science is that you believe in God. Now, you're going to talk to people who are think that they're scientific. But all of the people who invented Boyle's gas law or electricity, resistance, magnetism, the fact that Newton came up with the objects fall to the ground at 32 feet per second squared. All of those things, in order for those scientists to discover them, they have to believe that there was an orderly being that made them that way. All of the things that scientists have discovered using the real scientific method, they have to do in a way that assumes that there is logic, that assumes that what happened yesterday will happen today. Today, everyone's looking for a virus cure. Everyone is assuming that the virus is behaving in a predictable way. And if we can understand its predictable way, then we can try to come up with a virus antidote or prevention. But it assumes that something has already taught that virus how to behave. And so I call that faith. Faith, as we saw, was the evidence of things that you believe that you cannot see. So for science to work, science has to depend on faith that there is an orderly, structured system, that things happen because there was a cause and an effect, that they can repeat an experiment and that you can repeat an experiment. So to me, I'm going to take this to tie this off now. You are told often that though you can't believe Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God created the earth. Well, guess what? You can't prove that. However, you also cannot prove, no one can prove, that the world was 4 billion years old and that it took 4 billion tries or 4 billion years for oxygen to appear on the earth. And oxygen is required for the animals to live. This requires faith, and it's not provable. So it is not worth talking about whether this faith talking about Genesis or this faith talking about what happened before anyone was around. Those are both objects of faith. However, looking at history is only hypothesis. We can only do a hypothesis. We can do theories. And people who then say Christians are unscientific because they don't understand science, those people are misguided, and they need our love and our gentle help. If you talk to a person who is a real scientist, they cannot be a scientist if they don't expect to discover something that already was put into place. It is not a random universe. It is not a random earth. It is not by just happens to be there. I'd like to talk some more about a whole bunch of subjects that are related to this, but I really wanted to talk to you today, and I'm concluding now, because so many things we've got. Everybody's talking about science in the news. We've got some people saying that we're not following the science of the virus, And some people are saying we should wear masks, we should not wear masks, we should do this, we should do that. The fact is, all of those people are making leaps of faith because I have read, there is not a single place where anyone has done a scientific experiment to compare whether this thing or that thing behaves with the corona type viruses. Everyone is making early predictions that staying far apart, not breathing on one another are probably good ways, and those are probably good heuristics, but that's not science yet. There is not a hypothesis and a conclusion. And so as you think about all the craziness going on and you think about what is happening, I'd like you to just realize that it is faith. Our faith in the living God is no more unscientific than a scientist's faith that they can find a cure for a virus, or a scientist's belief that they can find a way of solving climate change, or that they can come up with a way of making cars more efficient or other things. In order for people to be even looking at that, they have to have faith that the world behaves in a predictable, law-abiding, I will call these physics laws, and all the rocks know these laws. You have to have faith to believe in science. You have to have faith to be a scientist. You have to have faith to be saved by God. Those are not two separate things. They are easily the exact same thing. What is your faith in? And I'm going to conclude here, and I hope to see you again. Thanks.